Have you ever wanted to shoot a gun with your feet? Have you ever wanted to parade around in a suit made of your own hair? Have you ever wanted to fist an angel? I know I have, and I'm willing to bet you're just like me, in every possible way. And I mean, every possible way. You know that alarming lump that's appeared on your lower back? That's right, I have one of those too. We're linked, you and I, and we'll be together forever. Mwah! Luckily, there's a game perfect for people like us, and that game is Bayonetta. There's no easy way to summarize a game like this, there's a lot to it and there's a lot to consider. It's widely considered to be an amazing game, but it's not without fault. In a universe of light and dark where perception is reality, it's important to perceive the game yourself to determine fact from fiction. And that's why I'm here. I'm going to determine just how amazing Bayonetta truly is. And with that said, let's dance. Some of you may be thinking, what is Bayonetta? To be honest, your ignorance sickens me. Bayonetta is a game about an uber-powerful witch of the same name. Using a variety of weapons and powers, Bayonetta embarks on a journey of self-discovery to recover her lost memory and save the world from certain destruction at the hands of actual God. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Much like God, we'll start at the Genesis. The opening of this game, as a spectacle, is absolutely fantastic. It's a perfect mix of gameplay, world building, and sensory stimulation. And I love me a bit of stimulation. Obviously, it's nice to have a lore dump, the history of the Umbra Witches and Lumen Sages, the witch hunt and all that. It's great to hear about, it helps you get into the world and invested at what's at stake. Many games would just use an incredibly long, boring cutscene to present that information. Like a university lecture, except the information being provided has no value beyond the validation of a desperate writer on the development team. Instead, Bayonetta decides to expose you to this information as you fight against an army of angels while falling down a cliffside on the face of a clock tower, and that's just fucking amazing. Out of all the games I've ever played, this opening stands out to me more than any other. When I first played the game, I was hooked after this opening. It was fun, interesting, and iconic. So iconic, it even made its way into Super Smash Bros. As a stage. This is the sort of thing that games really benefit from. An intro that is captivating and gets you pumped to play more. Nothing kills a boner like a boring opening cutscene that never ends. Bayonetta gets it right. But none of that really explains what Bayonetta actually is. Thankfully, the game's prologue, the vestibule, captures the essence of Bayonetta perfectly. First off, the game's personality and vibe is shown off in full display here. Mainly carried by Bayonetta herself, this simple cutscene demonstrates exactly what you're in for. Over-the-top, ridiculous and stylish action with a splash of goofiness here and there, to an upbeat cover of Fly Me to the Moon. She's got guns on her feet. I don't even know how that works, but I love it anyway. I can't explain why, but it's so good. I want guns on my feet. It would go great with the massive guns I have on my arms. No, just kidding. I can't even lift a mood. After the cutscene has you thirsty for gameplay, you're dropped straight into combat. This is what Bayonetta is about, kicking ass in style. The prologue gives you a very basic tutorial of how to fight. Playing the Switch version gives you the option to use touch controls. As much as we'd all love to touch Bayonetta, I'm not willing to put up with that. I'm going to stick with the controller. The tutorial teaches you the fundamentals, how to punch, kick, shoot, dodge, and activate Witch Time, which is a special ability that slows down time when you dodge an attack at the right moment, granting you the opportunity to strike. The game encourages you to experiment with combining punches, kicks, and shooting to unleash powerful combos that aren't only strong, but flashy as well. These are only Bayonetta's most basic abilities, but they still house so much potential for fun, satisfying combat. When the tutorial is as enjoyable as this, you know you're in for one hell of a time. But there is so much more to the combat than that. I don't think I can express just how deep the combat is in Bayonetta. The opening tutorial is just the tip of the iceberg. It goes so much deeper. They're going to have to send a submarine to find the bottom of the depth of this game's combat. Later on in the prologue, you're taught how to perform torture attacks. If you've built up enough magic in your magic gauge, normally done by just attacking enemies, you'll be able to perform a torture attack, which is a devastating attack that does a huge amount of damage and is excellent as a combo finisher. What better way to finish off a combo than summoning a Victorian torture device out of thin air? If we all could, we all would. But it goes even deeper. Bayonetta continuously learns new abilities as the game progresses, some of which are tied to story events, weapons, or just buying them from the gates of hell. When you kill an angel, you collect halos, which is this game's currency. You can also find them by destroying the environment, opening chests, performing well in combat, and also cashing them in during the Angel Attack minigame after each chapter. These halos are used to buy things from Rodan in the Gates of Hell, which includes, among other things, new moves for Bayonetta. You can buy the ability to dodge and activate Witch Time while airborne, you can buy moves that help for extending combos like Afterburner Kick, moves that are good for approaching enemies like Stiletto and Heel Slide, and other powerful moves like Witch Twist, Tetsuzanko, and Heel Stomp. Purchasing these moves gives Bayonetta a shitload of new tools to play with, allowing you to create even more devastating and glamorous combos. But it goes even deeper. At some point in the story, Bayonetta learns the Beast Within technique from Jean, which allows her to transform into a panther, granting her incredible speed and mobility. This also unlocks new techniques in the Gates of Hell. Bat Within, which basically increases how generous Witch Time's activation window is, and can allow you to mitigate damage at the very last second, and Crow Within, which allows Bayonetta to fly for a short amount of time. Not only useful in combat, Beast Within is also great for exploring the levels and finding secrets. But it goes even deeper. Bayonetta's moveset and abilities can change depending on which weapons you have equipped. In the prologue you have the handguns, which is the bare bones weapon set that has no special moves, abilities or attributes. After beating the prologue, Bayonetta is gifted with Scarborough Fair, her signature weapons from this game. Scarborough Fair has the same moveset as the handguns, but it has the ability to perform Wicked Weaves. Wicked Weaves are powerful attacks that are activated at the end of certain combos. They usually take the form of a demon's fist or heel, conjured up by Bayonetta's hair, and they're pretty goddamn strong. And they're not only strong, they're also very satisfying to execute. Once you get familiar with each weapon's moveset, you can use Wicked Weaves to unleash devastating combos, and even extend combos off of them to really tear your enemies into yummy shreds of divine chicken. But it goes even deeper. Throughout the game you'll collect golden LP records. Presenting these to Rodan in the Gates of Hell will reward Bayonetta with new weapons. These can be equipped by swapping out Scarborough Fair in exchange for these new weapons, and unless the weapon has a specific place, it can be equipped to either her hands or feet. Each weapon has differences, some have unique properties, some completely alter Bayonetta's moveset, and they all have different applications. Let's break it down really quick. Scarborough Fair is what I consider to be Bayonetta's default weapons and moveset. They're my personal favourite since they're simple and fun to use, and are pretty reliable in any situation. Weapons such as the Onyx Roses and Lieutenant Colonel Kilgore have very similar movesets to Scarborough Fair but different properties. The Onyx Roses fire fewer shots, but the shots they do fire are a lot stronger, and Lieutenant Colonel Kilgore are slower but fire very powerful rockets. Durga, which is a set of claws, also has a very similar moveset to Scarborough Fair, but rather than firing bullets, they can trigger small explosions. They also possess the elements of fire and lightning, which you can switch between. Fire is slow and strong, while lightning is weaker but a lot faster. Then you get into the weapons that alter Bayonetta's moveset. You've got Shuraba, which is a sword that can only be equipped to Bayonetta's hands. Shuraba is a very cool weapon that slightly changes Bayonetta's moveset, but I find it to be a good mix of power and speed. Then you've got Kulshedra, a whip that doesn't have a lot of combo potential, but it has a lot of range and is able to pull enemies towards you. I personally don't enjoy using it, but it has its applications in certain Alfheims, which are bonus challenges you can find in each chapter that reward you with health and magic upgrades. And hey, if getting whipped by Bayonetta is a fantasy of yours, Kulshedra's got you covered. And then you've got the foot-exclusive weapon Odette, which are ice skates that improve Bayonetta's speed, can freeze enemies, and also allow her to walk on fire. Being able to mix and match the weapons on Bayonetta's hands and feet mean there are countless combinations and possibilities for combat, especially when you factor in being able to switch weapon sets on the fly. It's almost overwhelming, there's so much to consider. At the end of the day though, nothing beats the classic Scarborough Fair for me. But it goes even deeper. Some angels drop their weapons and allow Bayonetta to use them. These could be axes, bows, swords, trumpets, claws, all sorts of things, and they all have different effects and uses. They don't stick around for long, but they're very strong and very useful. But it goes even deeper! You can not only buy new moves at the Gates of Hell, but you can also buy accessories. These accessories have a variety of effects, and while you can only equip a certain number at a time, they add a whole extra layer to the gameplay. My favourites are the mood of Mahakala, which allows Bayonetta to parry attacks by moving the left thumbstick towards the attack, activating Witch Time and restoring health if done at the perfect moment, and also Celine's Light, which instantly activates Witch Time when Bayonetta is hit. Not great if you're going for pure platinum clears since it encourages getting hit, but it's good if you're playing through casually. It even activates Witch Time against enemies you can't normally do that against. But there are so many more. There are accessories that automatically enrage enemies that normally requires taunting, or replace Witch Time with what is essentially a small bomb. There's so much you're able to do with accessories, and it's, yet again, almost overwhelming. This is what I mean when I say the combat in Bayonetta has an unbelievable amount of depth. The basic combat on its own would still make for a great game. It's fun in isolation, but when you add new moves, torture attacks, wicked weaves, a variety of different weapons, angel weapons and accessories, the game becomes an incredibly diverse playground of bloody combat. You feel free, you feel overpowered, and you feel badass. But even despite how much this game gives you to work with, it's still tough. It offers a solid amount of challenge, and the game encourages you to try different strategies. It makes the game so replayable. I've played through it so many times experimenting with different setups, and it never gets old or boring. It cannot be overstated just how great this game's combat is. You'd struggle to find anything with better combat than this. However, Bayonetta's gameplay does have faults. There are some things that are unremarkable but inoffensive. For example, I've got a pretty messy and lazy haircut, but it's not hurting anyone. But in relation to the game, there are some things that are neither here nor there. Things like actually traversing the chapters. It's never anything special, but it's never bad. Unless it randomly decides to insta-kill you. I mean things like riding the motorbike or the missile, since they take so long and overstay their welcome. And also gimmicks like protecting little Cereza, which are just kind of annoying. And then there's the matter of items, which affect your score. At the end of each chapter, you're awarded a trophy based on your performance. The best is pure platinum, which is basically a perfect run. It then goes down to platinum, then to gold, silver and bronze, and then stone if you really shat the bed. It's always fun trying to get a pure platinum, even if it is really hard. One thing I really don't appreciate is the use of items tanking your score. Using lollipops to restore health and magic or increase your damage or defenses is seen by the game as a negative, and I just think that's unnecessary. Why are you punishing the player by using a mechanic that you put in the game to help the player? It just doesn't make a lot of sense. But that's a minor thing. In fact, everything that's wrong with this game's gameplay is just minor things. The focus is really on Bayonetta's combat, as it should be, because it's spectacular. I feel that the gameplay is enhanced by this game's brilliant presentation as well. Visually, it looks pretty good. I'm not too keen on the strange yellowy-brown filter the game seems to have, but everything is overall pleasing to the eye. The character models look great, and the chapters take place in some pretty unique locations. I will just say though that there is a lot of recycling of environments. While they do appear in different contexts, you do end up travelling through very similar and in some cases identical locations multiple times. It's not inherently a bad thing. I live in a house, it's the same one every day. I don't resent it because of that, but sometimes you do want to be somewhere else, and in Bayonetta, it would be nice to be somewhere else more often. Bayonetta also has an incredible soundtrack. Alongside its brilliant cover of Fly Me to the Moon, the game has so many upbeat, memorable and climactic tracks that make the gameplay that much more intense and adrenaline boosting. Climactic is actually a good word to describe this game as well. One thing this game does incredibly well is spectacle. Grand, over-the-top fights and settings really make every moment of gameplay feel like the end of the world in the best possible way. You get such a rush playing this game, and it really is all of its pieces coming together to be greater than the sum of its parts. The gameplay combined with the visuals, music and spectacle really is fantastic. Much like real life, you might currently be asking yourself the question, but why are we doing all of this? I don't know, mate. Eating, sleeping, working, and taxes, what is it all for? Why are we going through all of this? Is it really just to delay death for as long as possible? Or is there more to this pointless existence? What is my purpose? You're not alone, my friend. You're not alone. The characters in Bayonetta probably also ask themselves the same thing. The game's personality is carried by Bayonetta herself. She's confident, sassy, and an absolute badass. She loves to make a show of everything. She's ridiculous in the most stylish way possible. I'm not kidding when I say that Bayonetta is my favourite video game character. And this isn't even my favourite version of her. I'm fonder of her designs in the later games, but still, her design and personality here are fucking phenomenal. Without her, this game wouldn't nearly be anywhere near as fun. Mainly because she's the main character, so without her there'd be no one to control, but you get what I mean. Along the way, Bayonetta is joined/pursued/annoyed by a variety of other characters. Enzo, the loudmouth from the start of the game who doesn't serve any purpose beyond that. Rodan, bartender and owner of the Gates of Hell. Luca, a journalist who every so often dumps some extra lore. Jean, another Umbra witch working for the bad guys for a reason I'm still not sure about despite playing the game many times. And finally Cereza. I won't spoil who she is, I mean you can probably figure it out, but I still won't say. What I will say is that she is a totally inaccurate depiction of a child. In this game, she's usually calm, obedient, and cheery. In reality, she'd be a little more like this. Mummy, I'm hungry. Sorry, little one, I don't have any food at the moment. You're going to have to wait. But I'm hungry now. Yes, little one, I understand, but I can't just make food appear out of nowhere. You can have some food later. No! I want to eat now! Get me food now! Little one, there is no food here. Get me food! We are on a runway. Little one, there is no fucking food. Still, all the characters are joyous and fun in their own ways. The reason I say this is because the story these characters find themselves in isn't exactly Shakespeare. The story of the game is messy. There's nothing wrong with the premise. A witch wakes up after 500 years with amnesia and goes out to recover her lost memory, while also getting wrapped up in a plot to resurrect the creator of the universe, to erase it and create a new one. Classic stuff, we've all been there. But what makes it so weird and disjointed is all these extra layers of crossing timelines and hypnosis and flashbacks and lore dumps and alternate realities and all that crap. It can be confusing if you don't have someone there to explain exactly what has happened and why it's happening. I mean, it's not badly written, it's just badly told, if that makes sense. Moral of the story is, don't play Bayonetta for the story. Just play it to fuck shit up. Honestly, I don't even think I need to restate my opinions on this game again. It's as clear as day. I mean, my biggest gripe is with the story. That should tell you everything. Bayonetta is an absolutely phenomenal game. You can tell that it was made with love. It has so much personality, it's presented fantastically, and most importantly, it's so fucking fun. This is a game I've sunk many hours into because the gameplay is just that good. It's one of my favorite games of all time. Bayonetta is widely considered to be an amazing game, and rightly so. Think about it. What other game can make your dreams come true? Who else will let you shoot a gun with your feet, parade around in a suit of your own hair, fist an angel and kill God? That's all I really want, and Bayonetta delivers. And if you disagree, you're in for a world of pain. Bayonetta said it herself, don't fuck with a witch.